Okay, good morning, everyone. Really excited about what's going on right now. There is so much good stuff that is happening. Just had a great couple of weeks. As I look back over the month of October, had some fantastic experiences in Toronto and in Canada. Had a wonderful event there. A lot of new people in the room, a new audience. Great to see so much activity bubbling away in Quebec, I might add. So for any of our French-speaking team, I want to say my hat's off. It looks like you're doing some wonderful things there, growing your business. Just came back this past weekend from San Antonio. Had another great experience there with team members from around that area. Just had a wonderful, enriching activity. As we said before we hit record, lots of get up out of your seat, get busy, get engaged, practice new skills, really hands-on training on some of the fundamentals of the business, which is so needed, so important, and so valuable. And as I look at the schedule, I'm off again soon to France, where we've got the European event coming up in a few weeks' time, and I'll be off over there to support the team in France as well. There's just a lot of great things. And amongst all of this activity and energy, the announcement has come that we're opening Chile, and that's creating a lot of excitement. So lots of great things. The business is expanding. Teams are getting together and supporting each other, working the business. There is activity and events going on here, there, and everywhere. And there is a lot of energy and a great buzz about the Nikken world, which is great. I want to touch on something to make sure that we all capitalize on this buzz, this energy. One of the great things that can hold us back in building a thriving business is us, isn't it? We can be tapped into this energy, and sometimes we can feel it at an event. Go, oh, that's just so wonderful. Or that person's got such great confidence. That person there does such a great job when they're on stage, when they're speaking. If only I could be like them, or if only I could be as charismatic as that person, I could grow the business. Or what a great opportunity that looks like, but maybe that's for them and not for me. I'm not sure if any of you relate to that. Do you sometimes look at others and don't feel like you quite, oh, there we go. You don't feel that you maybe quite measure up as much. The biggest barrier to most of us in achieving the results that we want is this belief in ourselves, isn't it? It's a big barrier. I find it's a barrier because what happens is when we don't believe in us enough, it compromises our effort. It diminishes our vision. Yeah, we don't believe that we are deserving or able to dream as big. So we set smaller goals. We set smaller goals and we play more cautiously, more carefully. And when we play more cautiously and carefully, we diminish our outcomes. I'm not suggesting that we run with great risk and with unnecessary caution. We want to be cautious, but we also want to be able to push ourselves, to get outside of our comfort zones, to live in a space that will take us to another level of our own personal development. So I want to talk about something that I believe is common for a lot of us, something that isn't spoken of very much, but to some degree, I think we all feel it. And that is what is referred to as imposter syndrome. Does anyone ever feel a little bit like that? Do you ever think that you're in the right place at the right time, maybe even doing the right things, but maybe you're not really what people think you are? Maybe if they knew the real you, they'd be a little disappointed. Yeah, there is an imposter syndrome that many people feel. And I think one of the reasons for that, in fact, I think this is a big reason, is I think any of us that put ourselves in a position where we are a minority. And when you're promoting a business opportunity, when you're acting as an entrepreneur, we are a minority, aren't we? When we're going out into the world to recruit, to talk to people, to attract people, we are the minority in our mindset and our vision, as it is with any great person of influence. Yeah, anyone that's been a significant game changer has been a minority. You don't get masses that change the world. You get small handfuls of people that change the world. It's just the nature of it. History is evident, proof of that, isn't it? So the challenge is for us, when we put ourselves in a position where we are the minority in the way that we think and the way that we act as entrepreneurs, as visionaries, as leaders, of a business, of an enterprise, of a cause, what happens is we get confronted with the biases and the prejudices of the masses on a daily basis. The consequence of that, when we are confronted with the prejudices and the biases of other people regularly, that can have a natural impact on how we see ourselves. Yeah, our emotional system's an open loop system. We need the influence of others to regulate it. And there is plenty of science that backs that. And I've talked about that on other calls. So the reality is, what I want to emphasize is this sense of feeling that, even if it's a little bit, that imposter syndrome is not a reflection of inadequacy. This is what I wanted to stress today. It's the reflection instead of a negative belief that we've developed. Okay, so to that point, and this is my objective, if we can understand, if I feel that I relate a little bit to this imposter syndrome, that rather than have that recognized, identify to me that that is evidence of my weakness or inadequacies in this capacity, instead, if we can understand that it is the reflection not of inadequacy, not of failure, but of an incorrect belief that we've developed, that we can let go of and replace with healthier choices in our beliefs, then we can be assured that we can move forward as human beings with great opportunity and with great confidence to get better results. Like I said, we often feel this imposter syndrome largely because we're getting confronted with bias and prejudice all the time. Yeah, and we internalize a little bit of that because we're in the minority in regards to what we're saying and what we're talking about. So I want to talk today about 5 different types of imposter syndrome, how they are manifest in our lives, and critically, what I believe is the underlying negative belief that we can address and we can change. So you may find yourself a little bit in one of these syndromes. And if you don't, and if you go through all 5 and you go, hey, I'm none of them, I'd put my wife in that bracket. I think she's got the best self-esteem that I've ever seen in any human being. And I just absolutely respect and admire her for that. I, unfortunately, am plagued with imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff that I feel as I go through my life and my business. In fact, my wife said to me a number of times, but when are you ever going to feel like you're good enough, Ben? When are you going to be enough? I don't know. It's a work in progress. Yeah. And I say that, I share my own challenges, hopefully as a reassurance. Yeah. That I struggle with this as well. And if I do, and I can get through this and find ways to develop and grow, that maybe we all can. Yeah. I hope that's a reassurance versus an alarming concern. Yeah. But I hope it's a reassurance because there's been plenty of times where I've fallen victim to this sense of imposter syndrome that has gotten the better of me and it's held me back. And I don't like that. But unfortunately, there are plenty of negative beliefs that I have, which I have to work on to eliminate. So let's go through this. So this is the consequence, perhaps, of maybe some of my own self-evaluation and introspection. Yeah. So hopefully some of this can be helpful for you. So the first example of an imposter syndrome is the perfectionist. I'm definitely a perfectionist, by the way. I used to think that that was a great standard to live by, to have such a high standard of excellence to work towards. But the reality is, any virtue taken to extreme can become a vice. Yeah. And so perfectionism can actually be a manifestation of a vulnerability that we're trying to hide. Yeah. What does the perfectionist look like? Well, they set excessively high goals for themselves. And when they fail to reach that goal, which perfection is pretty high, which means they can fail quite regularly, they experience major self-doubt and they worry about measuring up. And whether you realize it or not, they can be control freaks. If they want it to be done right, then I've just got to do it myself. So they'll take control. But what do they look like? Perhaps that maybe they're micromanagers in the way that they work. Maybe they have difficulty delegating as a team member or what have you. if they miss the mark, for example, like I said, then they can really just worry about it, stress about it for days and days on end. Everything needs to be perfect, or it's a total failure. That's a scary goal, that, isn't it? It's got to be perfect, or I'm a total failure. We don't measure progress; we measure perfection. That's not good. So, what's the underlying negative belief that drives the perfectionist into this state of feeling like an imposter? Well, the negative belief, I believe, is all or nothing thinking. Or it's kind of in the title in this one, for example, perfectionism. The negative belief is things have to be perfect, and we measure things in extremes. It is perfect, it has to be 100%, or not at all. That is an incorrect belief. I need to be at this level, I need to get this result at this time, or if I don't, it's a complete failure. That's dangerous thinking, isn't it? Because what happens when we get repeated failure time and time again? It reinforces the belief that we're an imposter. You can't do this because you keep on failing. That's what we tell ourselves, but outwardly we keep on setting big goals. One of the reasons that we do that, we don't want people to see that we're the failure. So we'll set the big lofty goal and then we'll fail at it. And inwardly, we break ourselves and beat ourselves up because it has to be perfect. The solution to this is to measure progress, not perfection. Don't have perfection as your standard. Have improvement. We don't want to be talking about continuous perfection. We want to be talking about continuous improvement. So wherever we are at, we want to look at that, own it, accept the vulnerabilities, the weaknesses, the inadequacies, and then move forward from there at an appropriate pace and measure the progress versus the perfection. That can help us beat the imposter syndrome that we might be experiencing if we are the perfectionist. The next one that we are, type 2 of the imposter syndrome, is the Superman or Superwoman. Now, this is interesting, this one. And again, let's just look inwardly. We don't want to use this to judge other people. This is for us understanding ourselves better. So this situation is interesting. People that experience this phenomenon are actually kind of convinced themselves that they are the phonies amongst their colleagues. So what do? They try to hide it by working harder than everyone else. Yeah, maybe if I show up to every conference call, I will show people that I'm legit. Yeah, maybe if I turn up to every meeting. Now, don't get me wrong, I want people on conference calls and I want people at all the meetings. But if my motive for being on all of them is to disguise the fact that I feel like a phony because I'm not getting the results or I don't believe enough in myself, I'm doing it for the wrong things, I'll get the wrong results, and I reinforce the negative belief. We don't want to be the hardest working person in the room in order to prove to others that we are something that we don't believe we are. Yeah, doesn't work that way. That's compromising. So let's look at this. How do we do this? Then maybe if I'm the Superwoman or I'm the Superman, I'm the hardest working man or woman in the room. My hobbies go completely by the wayside because I get so preoccupied with what work or my business may demand. Perhaps no matter how much I learn, it's never enough. Perhaps no matter the rank advancements I get, the recognition or the achievements that I get, it's not enough. Perhaps because I keep on needing to get that reaffirmation coming back to me that I am enough. Yeah. So that brings me to what is the negative belief that drives the Superwoman or Superman to behave that way. It is excessive need for approval. We all need approval. Don't get me wrong. We all need to be validated in every walk of life, from being little children to being grown-ups, be it in amateur environments or in professional environments. Recognition and validation from others that we love or respect, or even those that we don't know, is important. People want the gold medal if they're athletes. Yeah, they want to win the race. They want the recognition. They don't do it privately and beat the record and go, well, that was good for me. They want to be recognized as the champion. Yeah, that's okay. There's no harm in that. But if it is an excessive need, like I said, any virtue taken to extreme becomes a vice. If we take that need for approval, which is human and natural and good, and take it to an extreme because I need it in order to validate myself and to be considered worthy by myself, that is not good. And the reason we often need the excessive amount of approval or validation from others is because I'm not giving it to myself privately in my own conversations in my head. Yeah, maybe my inner monologue is negative, and I need to change some of the language in my mind when I talk to myself about who I am or what I am in order to address that. So we're actually compensating in many instances for the negative speak that we give ourselves that maybe we're not even realizing that we're doing. So let's look at maybe changing that and having some positive affirmations that we give ourselves as a replacement to that negative self-talk. The third one is I feel like I should be a natural genius. If I don't get this that fast, I'm not good enough. If I don't pick up a new skill and I can run with it straight away, then I'm a failure. I have ridiculous expectations of myself in order to develop or to be brilliant in everything. This is a concern as well. If we don't get that, if we don't pick something up straight away, if I don't get there fast enough, then what happens? I feel shame. I feel embarrassed. I feel incompetent. So as a consequence, what we're doing here is rather than judging ourselves based on our efforts, we're judging ourselves based on the speed of which or the ease of which we pick something up. Okay, so rather than judging ourselves on our efforts and saying, you know what, the outcome was this, but I really tried hard and I put a lot of great effort in, I really gave it my best, and I'm happy with the outcome, though I wish it was better, we go, I should have picked that up much faster. I should have gotten there much quicker. I'm measuring competence and speed and ease as the measurements for success versus my personal effort. And that's dangerous too, because if we would apply that throughout every aspect of our lives, well, that would be dangerous, wouldn't it? We could kill our self-esteem. Can you see how this imposter syndrome, when you see how it's based on negative beliefs, perpetuates itself? It entrenches it deeper into our psyche and makes it harder for us to change. Because when our belief in ourselves is compromised, our capacity to rise up and get out of that mire, out of that hole, is compromised as well. Those that believe in themselves more can just climb higher and higher and higher because they're empowered by their own belief. When we're not empowered by our belief, our efforts, it's like pulling the plug from the electricity socket. Yeah, we're disconnected, and we just can't move on. So for the person that believes they need to be the natural genius, what is the negative belief? It's should statements. I believe, this is my belief here, that anyone that uses the word should in a rule that they have for themselves is standing on thin ground. Yeah, a dangerous ground. Because what that means is if I put that into a sentence, I should be better at this. I should be faster than this. I should get this quicker. Life should be easier for me. Yeah, life should be better. I shouldn't be in this position. I should be over there. I should be experiencing this. Those should statements are dangerous because what they're doing is they're reinforcing something. They're reinforcing a rule that doesn't exist in life. Because if I'm saying I should be somewhere, what I'm also saying is I'm not where I want to be. Yeah. Now we can say I would like to be there, but saying I should be there is very different because you're turning what you want into a rule that doesn't apply to you but seems to apply to everyone else. And if it doesn't apply to you but it applies to everyone else, then something is inherently wrong with who? You. And if something's inherently wrong with me, then my results that I'm getting right now are a reflection of my own brokenness. And again, What happens as a consequence of that? Less results, poorer performance, less happiness. At the end of the day, we want to be happy and fulfilled. The business is about helping us to thrive and to become more. So we want to make sure that we do away with these negative beliefs and these syndromes of feeling like an imposter. The fourth one, I'm mindful of time, is the soloist. They don't like to ask for help. And I wonder how many soloists we've got in the room here, because I've heard plenty of leaders say, why don't people ask me for enough ABCs as much as I would like? Why are they doing it all by themselves, right? Why aren't they reaching out? Here's one of the reasons why people don't reach out and ask for help. They believe if I reach out and ask for help, they might think that I'm a phony. Yeah, because I can't do it alone. I need to do this by myself to prove my worth. Yeah. So do you feel like you need to do things, even though we keep on talking about the team? Do you feel like you need to do things by yourself to validate your position? That I truly got my rank because I did it. It was me. Yeah. I don't need anyone's help. Is that the case? Yeah. It's interesting that, isn't it? So what is the negative belief that drives that? Well, at the heart of it, there is this fear, isn't there, that I'm going to be revealed as a phony. So what is the heart of that? What is the negative belief that drives that? Negative self-labeling. What am I telling myself in my head or in my heart that I am? Maybe I need to correct that. Maybe if I can change that language and start to convince myself that I am enough and I am good enough, then I will have more confidence in asking for help. Because actually, those that have great self-confidence do ask for help. They do reach out. They are good team members and team builders, because they recognize that in reality, they are a part of the whole, not the sum of it. Yeah. And a lot of these negative beliefs, if you look at it, what they're doing is they're making us, they're all me-centric, aren't they? They're all me-centric. And they make us the sum of the whole versus a part of it. And when it's me-centric and I'm not enough, then the collective whole doesn't have the power to get the results that we need. Yeah, because I'm not enough. So I'm disempowered. But when I see that I'm a part of the whole, not all of it, then I've got other people to rely on, more people to reach out to, and more resource and more strength. I can actually achieve far more. I can get more results. And as a consequence of that, certainly I'll be much happier as well. So there are certainly solutions here to be had. The fifth point, the last one, is the expert. They measure themselves primarily on what they know, how much they know, and critically, unfortunately, it's never enough. Because what they fear, again, a lot of this imposter syndrome is fear-based and me-centric. Fear-based, me-centric. So what they're fearing is their lack of knowledge, their lack of understanding, their lack of expertise will expose them again to those that they admire or look up to. So maybe they shy away from a job interview because I'm just not good enough. Yeah, I don't have all the credentials. I look at the list of requirements. I'd love to be a platinum. I'd love to be a diamond, but look at the credentials. Yeah, that's not me. That's not me. Look at the diamonds that are in the pool. They've got this, and this. I don't have all that stuff. So I'll set the big goal so that people don't see me as the phony that I am. But in my heart, I know I'll keep on learning, I'll keep on studying, I'll keep on trying, but I know that I'm not going to get there because inside I'm thinking I'm the phony. Yeah. So what we'll do is, again, we'll constantly seek validation, but I'll never be enough. I'll never quite be enough. What's the overriding rule that drives that? I believe it's discounting the positives. The person that feels they have to be the expert is discounting all the positives in their life, all the good things that they've actually already accomplished, rather than measuring themselves on being smarter than everyone else or more accomplished than everyone else. They're not doing it to be better than everyone else. They're actually doing it to have some sense of validation for themselves, because what they're saying to themselves is, I am not enough. Yeah. How do we fix that? Rather than running for certification and everything, rather than jumping on every training call to be the master of everything, what we can do is actually look for evidence in our own lives of the good things that we've done and recognize them, celebrate them, appreciate them, and be good with it. Yeah. This is really important. So, to me, the antidote of fear is love. Yeah. And the antidote of making all of these negative beliefs, which are me-centric, be dispelled, is to flip it. If it's all about me and it's all going inward, let's shift it all outwards, elsewhere. That means if we can learn to love ourselves a bit better, then that imposter syndrome can start to disappear pretty quick. I just want you to know, and I love this principle, and I hope you don't mind me again using a reference. Every now and then I pull out references from the Bible. Everyone knows I go to church and I love it. But there's an important principle here that I just want to stress, which is relevant. I'm going to make the link it from there to us here now. There was a verse that I always struggled to understand in the New Testament, where Paul said, we love God because he first loved us. And that confused me, because to me that felt like it was conditional love. How does that work, that he has to love us first? Yeah. What I've learned over time is a valuable lesson of leadership. And that is summarized really in what Ben Zander said when he said, the job of the leader is to see the potential in others that they do not yet see in themselves. So what is the starting point if the thing that holds me back is this imposter syndrome, but at the root of the imposter syndrome is I don't love or believe in myself enough? How do I get out of that? Well, we've talked about the negative beliefs. We've talked about how we can reverse them, what the antidote might be, but at the heart of it as well, fundamentally, what is so important is that when we don't love ourselves enough or believe in ourselves enough, we've got to be around someone that does. Wouldn't you agree? We've got to have people in our corner championing us, shouting on our behalf, cheering us on, giving us the confidence that we can do it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm here. If there is any role that I have to play the best, and not when I say the best, not in a competition sense, I'm talking about of all the other roles that I have as a Royal Diamond. If there is any that is fundamentally the most important, it's this, is to let all of you know that you can do it, that you're good enough, that you're capable, that you're able, and that you've got people in your corner, such as me and many others, that will work with you, support you, lift you, encourage you to get you winning and getting your goals achieved every step of the way. And let's celebrate progress and continuous improvement versus perfection. Let's make sure that we measure that. Let's look for the good things, the evidence that is already there, that we have accomplished and achieved great things already. Let's be enough. Let's be willing to be a little bit vulnerable, share some of our insecurities and be okay with that. I deliberately did that at the front of the call. That I also suffer with imposter syndrome, that I often wonder if I'm enough. Do I know enough? Am I enough? If they saw that, how I really felt, maybe they might be concerned. I have all of those doubts as well, because we're all human. Yeah, and it's part of the human nature, I think, to question ourselves from time to time and to wonder if we're not quite there yet. But let's turn that into a positive and move forward as a team, as a part of the collective, that we can do it, that we are good enough. And why are we good enough? Because it's not all about me. It's not all about you. It's all about us. And when we work together and we understand our part, the thumb on the hand is such a small element of the hand, isn't it? Plays such a little role. But if you took it out and you only had your 4 fingers, life would get very inconvenient. Yeah. Some of us are thumbs and other of us are faces. Some of us are hands and some of us are legs. Some of us are knees. We all play a part in this great body of the field organization of NECAM. But every part counts. When I was a musician, I used to play trombone, and my best friend played the trumpet. And sometimes I'd get jealous that he'd get all the attention as the lead trumpet when I felt just as good as him as the trombone, but my part was different. What I've learned now is that every instrument in the band counts, because that's what makes great music. Let's play our part, play it well, and recognize that together is where the power is. With our weaknesses and vulnerabilities and all, when we are together, there is incredible strength. Let's move out from there and do great things and rely on each other every step of the way. So thank you very much, everyone. Love you tons. And I hope, even if for one or two, this has been helpful today in moving us forwards. Thank you. Take care.